Hey everybody, you are going to have your mind blown and you're going to have an enlightenment take place in just a few moments as we sit down and find out what's going on in your school board. Stay tuned.
Real Life presents the Jack Hibbs podcast with intention and boldness to proclaim truth, equip the saints, and impact our culture. Today, if this podcast lifts you up and encourages you to live a more fulfilled life in Christ, then make sure you leave us one of those 5-star ratings. To us, that's like saying amen or yes. Then that rating will encourage others to listen. Now open your hearts to what God's Word has to say to you. Here is Jack Hibbs.
Well, everybody, welcome back to our podcast. And first of all, thank you guys. We have been having amazing responses by you. Having viewed some of our more recent podcasts have just gone really, really great. And so Jonathan Isaac, Hedia Miramati, that one still is continuing to explode as a federal insider reveals secrets about our nation and what was going on as she was working covertly for the United States government in various branches. And then I think this one's going to be equally well received because today I have with me Sonia Shah, who we are happy to have as president of the Chino Valley Unified School District, which you probably have heard about because it's been in national news and it continues to be in the national news scene because you just won't go away. How dare you, Sonia, be someone who thinks it's wrong for kids to be exposed to adult sexual content, and you think it's wrong for kids to be groomed, and you think it's wrong for, in fact, you're a book burner, aren't you?
I'm a book banner.
Yeah.
Sexually explicit material, get it out of the hands.
You're horrible. You know that? But you've got some, just some amazing ribbons and medals of honor as you have stood against just the bureaucratic machine of California. You have stood locally. You are taking a fight, and for that, if they could crucify you, they would. If they could, they would. And I'm honored to know you, proud to know you. And so let's talk about what's going on in your world because everybody listen up. What she's going through, what she's living, don't think that you're viewing this from a distance on your device and it's not going to be where you're at. There's a high probability that what she's going to be talking about is at your school district. You just don't know about it.
Absolutely.
And so hopefully this is a wake-up call. So Sonia, thank you for being with us. And wow, where do we start?
I know.
Yeah. Tell us who may not know, what's the function of a school board in the first place? You know, we see our kids go to school, the bus picks them up, drops them off. People don't think about a school board.
Absolutely. So the school board actually has a huge responsibility of ensuring, okay, so let me just break it down how it goes. The school board is above the superintendent. The superintendent is now the boss of, he's the one that's in charge of his cabinet. That's like your executive that reports to him. And then all the principals. And then therefore he is kind of like your CEO, right?
Yep.
And then we're kind of like, the bosses of him. So our position is to make sure he takes out the vision of the board. And you have to be in partners with them. Otherwise, you'll see things that happen like in Temecula and Orange where their superintendents were working against the board. Right. And that's not a good thing. But in essence, you have to trust as a board member, you have to trust your superintendent to do the right thing, to be fiscally responsible, but also to make sure that the districts are geared towards education and obviously not indoctrination. That's why I'm sitting here, is to make sure, But I will say this, in California and throughout the nations, because of the union's stronghold on these districts, it makes it very hard. So I know people will look at California and say, oh, I don't live in California, we're safe. Oh, no, I've talked to parents all over the nation. Because the unions are actively involved, they're very sneaky, and then eventually they will be like California because they have a master plan that the rest of the state unions are following through.
In fact, to back up what she just said, almost everything is initiated, perfected, honed, to work in California first,
Absolutely.
and then they infuse it into the other 49 states. Isn't it interesting? Yeah, unions. You mentioned unions. I want you guys to be thinking about unions. Why should a union have say or influence over your child's education? Shouldn't you have that say as being the parent that brought that child into the world? Shouldn't you have the say, seeing how you're the one that's funding the whole thing anyway? Right? Think about that through your tax dollars. So listen, I have this question for you. What has been your experience when parents finally begin to start listening or waking up to what you've been campaigning for? And that is not only the protection of children, but are parents waking up to either the reality or the lack thereof of their own parental authority? What's going on with parental authority in schools?
Okay, so I'm going to say this really quick. Our community, because I started as just a parent advocate, just concerned about when the stuff happened with the shutdown, a lot of the parents that I work alongside are hardworking, but then the majority have gotten comfortable because they feel like they're in a position where they could trust, but they're not totally aware because they're not paying that much attention anymore to the actual dangers that we have faced every single day that their kids are in. But I think in regards to parental authority, I hear it all the time. I get stopped, at the market or whatever it is. Thank you for standing up for our rights. We support you guys. But the fact that this is what I think the lawsuits, when the state sued us and then we turned around as a district with parents sued them, I think it was a blessing in disguise because it allowed more people to see the stronghold that the state has in regards to your constitutional right? Mm-hmm. Why does a school district have to sue the state? And why is the state suing the district who just wants to notify parents?
Right. Exactly.
And that should alarm people just with the fact of just looking at a title. It doesn't even matter how the media twist it. Why is the state using your taxpayer dollars to say they have a right to know and they can parent the child, but the parent doesn't have a right to know? Yep. That, to me, should wake up and send chills down every parent's spine.
Yep.
I hope it does. I think that the only problem I see is parents, like in our district, they trust that they have the right people in place. But I also think just our district, even as a parent, unless we get other districts to wake up and other parents to wake up, we're against a big machine. And we know as believers.
Yeah, no doubt.
The machine, God is in control. And sometimes, Pastor Jack, I've heard you say this in the national level, I feel like he's allowing this to happen because of the danger that is happening to our children. And it's not that we're going to stop it, but we're exposing it so people can pull their kids.
Right.
And I get that not every parent can do that, but at least they'll be aware of it and fight the good fight alongside us to protect the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, to that, from a pastoral perspective, I would say that it's so critical for you to protect your children that you might have to sell the boat or the airplane or the other house, and just bring your lifestyle down to something whereby mom or dad, somebody can stay at home or somehow get the funds to get your kids out of the public school machine. It is beyond toxic. It is beyond. And now what's very sad is that there's some good school teachers in there.
Absolutely.
There's some good administrators. You guys know we're not bashing you. What we are doing is that we're trying to bash those that have an evil agenda. Socialism, they have this gender reassignment agenda. What's pathetic is that they don't care, nor do they see the incredible decline of our children's ability to read, to do math, history, geography, chemistry, basic things. They don't care. They have such a radical social agenda, and we know it's radical. We're not making this stuff up, and we'll prove it to you. Mm-hmm. They are so radical that when people like Sonia Shaw get involved to find out what's going on in my school district, they will immediately label you anything from being a racist to a terrorist,
a Nazi,
Christian nationalist, or they just go off. And I just want you to know, when you hear labels are always employed in a panic. You know this in relationships. When does somebody call you names or accuse you of something? I mean, even in a marriage, When a marriage is being stressed and a husband and wife are arguing, one of them might say, "You always say that." Well, the truth is you don't always say that, but it feels like you always say that. When labels are being thrown, it's because someone is very, very upset and they're operating in the emotional realm. So when you're labeled a radical, she's a radical, they've got to shut her down. We've got to vote those Christians or conservatives off the school board. Why?
Exactly.
Why? What's going on?
Well, that's my question is when you actually get a person who wants to have a conversation. Oh, you're radical. You're pushing your agenda. You're pushing your Christian ideologies in the classroom. Okay, what did I do? Yeah. I put forth a stronger policy to remove sexually explicit books. That's it.
Yeah, which if they're not against that, I think they're weirdos.
Then they should not be around kids to begin with.
They shouldn't be around kids. I would say they're perverts.
Absolutely. We brought forward a policy that informs parents when we had a previous policy alongside almost all the school districts, because the California School Board Association, they're not a union, but you have to think about it as an association, almost like a union for school board members. And most of our majority of school board members go along with the flow of this agenda. They recommend the policies. So you have most of the school boards that had a policy in place previously to the gender ideologies that they had to keep secrets into that. So what we eliminated that policy and brought forth one said that we will tell the parents. That's so radical, right? That we're going to inform parents of something that is very important in their child's life. Wow, that's crazy. We got rid of, political propaganda in the classrooms. Yeah. Okay, so what? You don't want, the 10 Commandments in the classroom. Well, we don't want your ideology in the classroom. Let's be fair. Ideology. You.
What's amazing is, I hope I can say this correctly. She's talking about getting human agendas out, okay, so that kids can learn and be safe.
Yes.
Okay? Did you hear Sonia say, we want every kid to be baptized and wear a cross around their neck? But you see, that's how the rabid progressive thinks. They think like this. Because the reason why they think like this is because they don't want somebody to challenge their religion. Oh, make no mistake about it. Their progressive atheism or hedonism or paganism hates competition. And so they freak out. So when Sonia and the school board says, you know what, we're going to focus on our kids' math levels going up. And oh, by the way, the parents brought these kids into the world. That's how we got these kids into our school. And so we are going to honor parental rights. Yeah. They freak about that. I want to ask you something. Think this through for a second. 30 years ago, were the grades and the levels of competence for sixth grade, kids in the sixth grade in math, were they better now? I mean, were they better then or now? Okay, what about history? Could kids actually tell you about American history 30 years ago better, or are they better now? Everything that you pick a topic, everything 30 years ago, the kids were smarter. The longer this charade continues, the dumber your kids are going to get.
Yep.
I'm sorry to say it, but it is an absolute fact. And today, our kids are more in tune with pop culture than who was the third president of the United States or what was the Gettysburg Address. They don't know. They're not taught this stuff. What did you know? There's an agenda for them not to know this stuff, because there's a recreation of our culture, and your kids are the target. It's being played out in your child's life while we are busy at our jobs and doing our thing. Our kids are being, sorry for this bluntness, but your kids are being mentally raped by the system, and they are being twisted and they're being diluted and polluted. I could go on all day about this. I would love to be proven wrong. Show me where the scores are up.
Yep.
The truth is that they are not.
Well, we also have a teacher shortage, right? And it's not because of, they claim it's because of school board members like us, they're fleeing. No, it's because normal people don't want to sign up and push this agenda. They're making it requirements. I mean, go fact check me. Go and look on the CTA website and go.
As long as you fact check the fact checkers.
I know, right? Exactly. But what I'm saying is go on for yourself. I always tell people, don't go by what I say.
Yep.
Go check it out yourself. Go to the CTA website. Go to the Department of Ed Instagram. You're going to see them push all these ideologies, how to decorate your classroom. It has nothing to do with teaching your kids, the states like we did in the capitals. Our kids, the fact is they're failing at reading, writing, and math.
Yeah,
they're making requirements for everything that they want to push in. And I really consider this their religion. They're strung on pushing that into the classroom.
It is. It's Marxism.
And they have destroyed education. Yeah. And think about it. You have created an environment where both parents have to work to survive right now, to put food on the table, look at our economy. So you're forcing them to have no other choice to put your kids in this system where you have good teachers running away in flocks. They want nothing to do with this. I have these conversations with them.
And they're running away for the same reason why people are running away from this state.
Absolutely.
It's the leadership let's be honest. It is the very aggressive, very powerful, very, very engaged leadership of Gavin Newsom and his henchmen.
Absolutely.
They're not sitting up in Sacramento doing nothing. They're hard at work. But what they're doing, look at the bills they're passing. Did you know, this is a side note, but if my memory serves me correct, just this week, Gavin Newsom signed into law where California taxpayers will be paying unemployment benefits for illegal aliens.
It's insane.
Did you know that you are so rich? I have so much money that I am going to give it to illegal aliens that come into California. That's how loaded I am, and Sonia's way richer than I am. And wow, that's crazy.
On a school board.
Yeah. So these people are running. They're running from. Look, a good teacher is going to say, listen. A good teacher is going to say, I am not going to work for a California school system.
That's true.
A bad teacher says, this is exactly what I've been taught in school. I've been groomed the whole time. I'm one of them. I can't wait to get my class.
Those are activists.
They're activists.
Those are the ones that Tony Thurmond wanted to spend our money to put housing on school properties to put them in there because these are activists that sign up. This is their goal in life. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to tell parents. Look, teachers are wonderful. We have wonderful teachers, especially in our district. The majority are amazing. Yeah. Their union is horrific. But I do have to say, with the exposure of what parents are doing and how it's on there, I think I want to say, I don't know the exact number, but it's close to at least 160 that have left the local union. And the local union funds the majority of their dues that they goes to the CTA. The CTA goes into the NEA. Yeah. So these teachers are saying, my money's not going here. They don't need the union.
That's right.
Unions were made to what? To protect the teachers'
work
conditions then.
Back then, now it's good.
Yeah.
It's all. Back then, the unions served their purpose, goal achieved, no need for a union.
And now they don't.
But now it is a manipulative control machine for, bottom line, as the old saying goes, it's true again, follow the money.
Absolutely.
Always
follow
the case.
The money.
Always the case. So what can parents do? Maybe some parents are waking up right now saying, gosh, I never even thought about looking into my school board and checking out what people believe. What can they do? Do they watch online? Are they broadcast? Do you show up? What do they do?
So school board meetings, that's how I got involved. I didn't know what a school board was, 4 years ago? I had no clue. I was in the classroom volunteering. I was in there for art, PE, and room mom, things that are not funded, right? That they didn't have funding for back when my kids were little. Now they're in high school. But when I did find out, it was go watch your school board. You'll find out quickly who is the one making the decisions.
And you can just walk in and sit down and be as silent as a little church mouse. Anything. Right? You have to say anything, just watch.
And then if you're busy, look, I'm a mother. Both of my kids are in sports. Me and my husband are constantly dividing cities to go take one to the other. You can watch them online.
Okay.
Look, I missed church on Sunday. Watch it online. You missed a school board meeting. Go watch it online. That's your responsibility as a parent to see what is happening.
How cool of a movement would that be? So grassroots that if you just took what Sonia said a moment ago and just decide, all of you right now, if you were to decide, even if you're grandma and grandpa, maybe you can help your kids out and your grandkids out by watching. Take some notes.
Absolutely.
Review it. Look at it. Write some things down and listen. The first time I can't even say this, I don't think I can. I could. It's just The first time I ever went to a school board meeting it was decades ago.
Okay.
In this city. I went, and there was a school board member that they were discussing sex ed. It's always this stuff.
Absolutely.
And literally, I can see her now. Now I remember her name. She had a banana.
Oh, no.
And she put a condom on a banana and told the other school board members, this is what they need to do. It's that simple. And it was my first school board meeting I ever sat in, and I just thought, oh my gosh.
This is what we're focusing on when kids are failing.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. But that goes back to ask your kids. Look, Pastor Jack, as you have to understand, people have to understand the dynamics. You're dropping your kids off or they're taking the bus to a school. What does that tell a child? Trust the school.
Trust. Mom and dad just put me here.
So most of the time, your child who is hearing and seeing bizarre things, which they know because humans have natural instinct, they may know, like, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't seem right, but then mom's trusting it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes the life gets busy, like I said, both parents working, or maybe like what we grew up in. My mom died when I was very young, and it's just my father who's from another country who doesn't know what he's looking for, right? It could be those situations, but talk to your children, because with those conversations, you're gonna find out a lot of things. I mean, we have parents that, thank God they're talking to their kids, because in those conversations, I hear the horror stories. But it's like, oh, a teacher approached my kid who's just maybe what we identified as a tomboy. Do you want to be called as, he or him? Yep. Why is that happening? Like, this is inappropriate things that are happening, and they are happening here in Chino Valley, regardless of your board, and they are happening everywhere. Talk to your children, because when you tell them, I was taught, don't talk to a stranger, don't talk to an adult, don't keep secrets, right?
Yep.
I mean, I came from a very strict household because, like I said, my dad was from another country. My mom passed, and my dad was very protective over this. But I knew better if somebody were to approach us. But most kids are still having that trust, like, oh, mom dropped me off. Is this okay? They're questioning. Go talk to them.
Yep.
Hey, how did school go? Hey, what'd you learn today? Like, even with the whole 9/11 thing, I made sure my kids, we get busy. Did I fail to mention? Of course, we mentioned in our household, do you guys learn this in school, or do you just learn it from home? Gosh. I want to know these things because these are the things that we should focus on, yet they are putting into law for districts. I guess the new one is what? How to uncover false media when they control the media. Why do our kids need to learn that? That is so weird. Like, let that be known at home. We don't believe in the normal media at home, so we tell our kids what to look out for. Those are the dangers we tell them, right?
Yep.
It's all these requirements that they're tying this district's hands, and I will say good districts like ours, we're still struggling to educate because of all the requirements, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So listen, if you're thinking right now, and I mean this with all my heart, I always talk about how I wish I could wear a pastor's body cam for you to see and hear what I see and hear all the time. For those of you who are saying things like this, and Karen England's awesome at this, Capital Resource Institute, you should go there. Capital Resource Institute.
And she's the kitchen table activist online.
Right, online kitchen table activist.
Yes.
So if you're saying, whew, you poor guys in California, I'm up here in Boise, and it's great. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're in the fog. You have no idea how bad it is in Boise. Oh, yeah, well, I heard about Boise, but I'm so glad to be here in Nashville.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. In fact, there are places, here, wait for it. There are places that are worse than California.
Absolutely.
And you don't even know that. You think we're the big bad ones? Listen, thank God for people like Sonia. They're raising the flag of warning, because here's what happens. People wake up to podcasts just like this. They hear Sonia, they go look and see, they find out that it's happening right there in Omaha, and they're shocked. And here's what they find out so often is that it's the school teacher member. Somebody will say to the kid, they'll say something like, have you ever thought about, if any of you in the class have ever, kind of goes like this, by the way, this is one of the tactics, it's been this way for college for decades. And that is, hey, everybody, welcome to class. I'm Professor Ding Dong. Hope you're all happy here. By the way, let's just get to know one another. Let me see. Let's just pull this out of the air. Gosh, let me take us. Oh, anybody believe in God? That's a big topic. God. Raise your hand if you believe in God. Yeah. A kid who believes in God, they know, well, I don't want to deny God. And they'll raise their hand. And the professor, listen, this is taught by professors to do. Hey, you believe in God. What's your name? Mike. Mike, you believe in God. So did God create everything in 6 days and rest on the seventh day? Is that you? Do you believe that? And they'll ridicule the kid. They'll marginalize them. Well, now it's, hey, have you ever thought about being with someone of the same sex? Has that thought entered your mind? Now stop right there. We're fallen creatures, the Bible says. And the fallen human imagination will have a thought. But you may say, oh, that's gross, and not think about it for who knows years. But then this person in authority brings it up, and then they'll start hammering down on it. And we hear this time and time again. Pastor Jack, this is what happened to me. Yeah. The teacher kept suggesting, putting thoughts in my head. And it's indoctrination. It's making disciples. You say, well, don't you guys do that? Yes, of course we do. We're Christians. We want people to follow Jesus. Okay, why don't you just admit it? You want people to follow your paganism. Yeah. The problem is, why don't you pay for it? We're done paying for it, right? Yep. And so, well, how do we stop this, Pastor Jack? Well, you elect to office people just like Sonia Shaw. You find out what's going on, and then, in my opinion, go to your pastor. Get your pastor to go to a school board meeting, for crying out loud. Yeah. And put down the surfboard or put down the golf clubs and go to a school board meeting, pastor, and find out that you need spirit-filled, God-fearing people to run for school board office, or at least hold the school board accountable. This is called doing righteousness, literally. So I wrote some things down where, and you've been I don't want to say victim, because you'll never be a victim.
I'll never be a victim.
You were a recipient.
They try to make us victims.
Oh, they
but
love that.
That's not happening.
And you know what they can't handle? I'll cover the mic so they can't hear this. They can't handle when we actually laugh at their tactics.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. We're being jerks.
If we don't take them seriously, they just begin to foam. Here's one. You were a recipient of what I wrote down as twisting the Constitution. Oh. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, you want me to tell you about that? Can you legally talk about it? Yeah. Okay. I have no gag order. Thank God. I'm not in that position yet. Although people have threatened my life and my family's, which you know about. Yeah. That I have not yet had. You can't say this. You could say this. I'm free game for saying the truth. So obviously we're in two legal battles. The state who is suing us with the Department of Ed. The state. For wanting to inform parents of stuff that's important with their child's lives. And then we're also now suing the state alongside parents. Excellent. But we're still in the process. Actually, the final judgment just came out, I think, a week ago, right? So this whole time since last, I want to say August, we've been in a court battle. I've attended the hearings. Most of the hearings, I'm literally just with the attorneys, their attorneys, and myself, which is, I'm not going to lie, it feels a little defeating. And that's why I tell parents, pay attention. Yes, you get the right person in, but your support matters. Can you imagine, let's talk about this, a courtroom filled of parents? What do you think that judge is going to do? What do you think their attorneys are going to do? It changes the mood. They might still be on the direction of doing what they are told to do or what they think is going to be done. So true. But if they see a room full of even moms, say the dads are at work or whatever, or even both, it's going to change the whole thing. But when they see one person, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, he's going to do his wokeism. They are going to do what we expect them to do. That's right. And that's exactly what happened at the last court hearing. I was in there, and you know when you always hear the court system is rigged or this or that, and I don't want to say too much because obviously you don't want to talk bad about judges in general. You want to believe that they do the right thing. We want to believe, rather than mentioning rigged, here's what we want to believe. We want to believe that they believe and uphold the Constitution. And the laws, right?
The Constitution, which that's what we're fighting for, parents' constitutional right, the 14th Amendment.
That's right.
And we want to believe that they are talking about the legality of why we're there.
Right.
Not their personal
not their
beliefs.
Not their own religion.
Well, I sat there. I heard how the board president treated the state superintendent poorly. She kicked him out, which is not true. I told him to have a seat after I was already given time.
Pause. In a public gathering of school board members and citizens, Gavin Newsom sent down from Sacramento to Chino Hills Tony Thurmond,
State
superintendent of schools. And listen, when you show up, you have to fill out a card and you have to get in line. And there's a rule. There's rules to all this stuff. Tony Thurmond, at the orders of Gavin Newsom, came down to preach Sacramento's desire for the Chino Valley Unified School District. And Sonia literally kept the rules to the meeting.
I did.
And the governor didn't like it, neither did Tony Thurmond.
Absolutely.
They don't have to abide by the rules. By the way, let's be honest. Oh, we're going to get mail on this. Have you guys noticed that when somebody like Eric Swalwell, congressman, sleeps with a Chinese spy, did you know that the Republicans freaked out, but none of the Democrats freaked out? For the same reason why, for example, when Dianne Feinstein was alive, how her connections got her husband to buy or to sell blocks, miles of land to China in California as a senator. Do you think that's a conflict of interest? Listen, do you know what happened? Is that nothing happened. Because Democrats, let's be honest, Democrats never said that they wouldn't sleep with spies from China.
Yeah.
Democrats never said that they would sell out anything for anything. They never said they wouldn't. When we think this is how people are going to be, we make the same mistake when it comes to the Constitution.
Yeah.
In this modern day, do you hear the word democracy a lot? Where do you hear it from? Only from one group, only from one area, Democrats. Why? They're just saying democracy, 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 democracy. You will never hear a Democrat say constitutional republic.
Yep.
Why? They hate the Constitution. They want it dead. They'll attack it at every chance. They're doing it now.
Yep.
And what they're doing regarding Sonia and the school board is going after, look, she's just in the way. They want to go over her head and destroy the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And so the question is this, not the question, the observation is, the Constitution only works if people willingly allow it to be the body of governance that's over you.
Yep.
And herein is the problem. Just like everybody owns a Bible, but it's worthless unless you obey it. Everybody might have a constitution in their pocket somewhere. It's worthless unless you choose to obey it.
Absolutely.
We're seeing people deliberately attack it, and they are not obeying it.
And when you hear the court system tell a board member who took an oath to protect the Constitution, I believe in the Constitution. Look, my father came from another country. He believes in the Constitution. He served in the military here, right? Like I was grown up with these values, but these are also the values that I was actually taught into the Chino Valley Unified School District from which I attended, right? I believe that you should protect the Constitution at all costs. Otherwise, we're entering into what they want, and that's communism, and they want to parent the kids. We see that through the direction of community schools. They want to put housing clinics. They're already putting Planned Parenthood clinics.
Listen,
but let's go back to the judge.
Okay, do the judge and then get back to the housing, the clinics.
Okay, so the judge, he literally sat there and said that board president didn't allow Tony Thurmond to speak, which I did. He had his 1 minute. He approached back and he demanded a point of order. And I said, oh, no, you're not going to have a point of order. We're here because of people like you. You may have a seat, just like everybody else. He pretended to be there as a father, which I'm like, you're on our taxpayer dollars to come down with all your nice security and your fancy cars and mills on our tax dollar, pretending you're a father. He said kids have a right to privacy from their parents, which that is not true. He was, and he said that. They all said that.
So he publicly said this.
Yeah, he's been saying it on the news. If you go check and pull his things, he says kids have a right to privacy. Kids have a right to privacy. Kids have a right to privacy, not from their parents. That's what we fought for.
That. Listen, I mean, I just honestly, what right do children have for privacy?
From their parents.
Seriously.
Look at privacy the right to privacy is put in place to protect the child from government and third party. And now the government is, I call it perversion of the law and the rules,
Twisting of the
and they're
Constitution.
twisting it and using it against parents.
That's right.
We'll get into their plan, but I do want to say, when you hear a judge say that board member and the other ones that voted for this policy to inform parents violated their oath and the 14th Amendment, you're sitting there.
Pure twist. Wow.
I mean, tears roll down my eyes because I'm like, how dare our system be used against us when we just want to inform the parents, when we knew secrets are being kept from parents? We see it. We see the transition of children socially on the school grounds because, look, people don't even know that boys are allowed in a girl's locker room and vice versa. That is the law in California. I still encounter parents that have no clue that's happening.
Yeah.
Your daughter,
Yeah.
I ask the people that are against me, I've gotten to sit with them in their own media setting,
On their turf.
their turf. And my question to them is always, so and most of them, some of them, not most of them, actually most of them are not parents, but the one that fights against us that developed this organization with the old previous board president, I said, you have a daughter. Are you okay with your daughter, excuse me for saying this, seeing a male's penis?
Right.
At 12 years old.
Right.
Refused to answer.
Refused to answer. And
Why?
You said something important a second ago. Most of them are not parents. Think of that.
We have a few candidates that have never been parents. They're not parents, but yet they want control of your children and they want to make decisions.
Listen, I mean,
And that's not just Chino.
No. Of course, it's.
I want people to know we're not talking about Chino. Chino, yes. Look, the CTA, the unions, they're pouring in money, effort. You have board of director presidents of the CTA coming down and walking with the candidates that we have that want to continue the mission of parents' rights and actually focusing on education. They're dumping money to control because they know we're standing, like you said, we're standing in the way.
In one of the recent elections for school board, listen up, please, everybody, because this is happening in your town. You just do not know it. And that's why this podcast is important to you, to enlighten you. In fact, when this drops, you'll see comments and stuff and how they do. Watch people right now, wherever those things are popping up. He's insane. She's nuts. That's crazy. That's not happening. They're lying, blah, blah, blah. Take every one of those comments and just start counting them. And know this, we flew right over the target and dropped the bomb, and it lit the place up. And those comments that are opposing are actually making our case.
Yeah.
Because it is a reality, and for the state, I mean, think about what the state's for, right? Think about that. The state is to make sure the streets have stripes on them, that when you flush your toilet, it works. The state is for law enforcement. Safety, public safety, law enforcement, state borders. What a concept. Punish the lawbreaker to protect the innocent. All this stuff. That's what the state's for. Not your state. Your state is, how can we gain control of the kids and dumb them down to a point where we can take them away from the parent, teach them that the parents are the bad ones, and that we will promise them whatever they want. And we'll make sure that they won't know how to read and be as dumb as a brick, because we can't control people who can read. We can't control people who are smart. And so we need to stop charter schools. Look how many public schools are canceling charter schools. We need to shut down. We're going to go after private schools. Just wait. In your state, just wait till the state comes down on homeschooling, because doggone it.
They're trying.
Too many kids are getting too smart.
Yep.
Homeschooling, they're getting too good grades.
Yep.
Got to stop that.
Yeah.
So,
but it's by design, because
absolute.
As a parent, I started noticing things. I started noticing laws being passed. Remember the tampons in the boys' restroom,
Yes.
These kinds of things. We were asking our school board, can you talk about this? Well, with that, us normal day-to-day parents started following bills. We started paying attention. I go to a church that's great and has a pastor who has, real impact, AKA Pastor Jack and Gina Gleason, who have real impact that inform us normal day-to-day citizens. That's why when you say pastors need to get involved, they do. because the church body
Now.
is usually busy, good, hardworking, normal citizens. That is your average of taxpayers who are just trying to put food on the table and be disciples. But with that said, you see this by design. I started paying attention. I started seeing during the shutdown, tons of money were being put into things like wellness centers, this, that, the other. You see in LA Unified, the wellness centers were now partnering up with Planned Parenthood. By the way, Planned Parenthood
How convenient.
contributes to candidates, go figure.
Yes, listen.
That's happening here in Chino, but that's happening all over California, and I guarantee it probably is in the U.S. because they are huge.
Planned Parenthood, the largest 501c3 organization in the United States of America. It's not the church. Planned Parenthood.
They're endorsing and funding.
They fund progressive Democrat activists to run for office to stop you, the parent who cares.
And look, LA Unified to me is like California to the nation. They go first.
Yeah.
We know that.
That's true.
So sometimes it's hard to tell parents over here in Chino or other counties that are, we grew up here. This is a beautiful, you still live here. We all live here because we believe in our community. We know our community is great, right? But now you see it trickling down with all the money. Follow the money.
Yep.
So that money during COVID was put into wellness centers. Now wellness centers are turning into clinics on campus. Now you're seeing the community school push by the Department of Ed. Community schools, they're putting a pretty little bow. We're taking care of the whole child. Why would you want the government to take care of the whole child? Those are their words, whole child, right? I get, just like me and my siblings, sometimes food was provided by the school. We didn't have a meal because my mom was using money for drugs or whatever it may be. I understand that. It's good to have these things, but with not having them tied into you making sure that the XYZ is done on your campuses, right? Riverside County, San Bernardino County, community schools, 50 community schools in Riverside County. Go look on the website. I tell everybody, go check it. This school year, 56 schools turned into community schools in Riverside County, our neighbors, right?
Yeah.
On their website, go look at all the partners they partner with. Who's on there? Planned Parenthood.
Evil.
Why are we partnering as districts with these kinds of organizations for schools? That is a scary thought. But then again, you look at the housing that they're pushing, to have housing for teachers. These are not good teachers that have families that want the housing.
What do you mean housing for teachers?
Okay, so if you go to the Department of Ed, go to Google and go search up housing for teachers, Tony Thurman, or even go to the Department of Ed, California Department of Ed's Instagram page. He has pushed to work with the state, with Newsom and his buddies, to put housing on surplus property of districts to now build housing, affordable housing for teachers. Why don't you fix the fact that normal day-to-day people can't afford housing to begin with, yet now you're going to house these teachers to encourage more people to sign up for it?
Are you saying that Newsom and his goobers are...
I'm saying it, Pastor Jack.
That teachers who need it would be living on school property for their residents?
Yeah, so you want districts to be landlords and develop now? I'm just blown away. We can't even teach kids to read, write, and math, and now we're going to be landlords? What happens when we get rid of that teacher? Let's be real. No. There is gross people on the campuses that are molesting, having sex with kids, doing bad things. No. I'm not saying that about the good teachers, but there is that happening. How are you going to kick them out of a housing unit?
They won't. They can't. Once they set that up, there's not. And come on,
it's done. And surplus property, we're a growing state.
Why
keep that property for schools? Look, we're building schools because we have people flooding to our area. Right? We just built a new school. That property is not meant to house people. It's meant to give an education to people.
Yeah, you just said something that's incredible. It just jarred me because and this is so cool. What Sonia's describing is happening in almost every school district in America. I'm being conservative, so I said almost. There is a national push behind all this, covertly, quietly. Think about it.
It is national, Pastor Jack.
Think about COVID floating through the air. Oh my gosh, we've got to stop it. Big panic. Well, you know what? We need to put a mask over school unions and the education system because it's toxic. Thing is this. Because Sonia is taking a stand and citizens were informed of the issues and made aware, She ran for office and she was elected. How did this happen? The churches informed the community of these are the candidates. This is what they believe in. That's 100% legal, everybody. Yeah. Pastors are freaking out at me right now. They don't know. Honestly, pastors, you guys make it really hard for us to respect so many of you. It's tough because everything Old and New Testament is saying about your job, your calling, is probably most likely being negated by you because you're probably going to say, I just preach the gospel. You should repent of that if that's all you do is preach the gospel. You need to get your body, your church, discipled. And part of being a disciple is making them into armors of faith and light. So Sonia runs for office and the community is informed and she wins. Okay? You know what that's called? It's called the Constitutional Republic. Yeah. But do you know what the Democrats do? The Democrats launch recall campaigns. When elections don't go right, I'm forgetting her name. Oh my goodness, not Megan.
Madison.
Madison. Oh my gosh.
My buddy Madison.
Madison is awesome.
Yep.
And Madison wins in Orange County. Mm-hmm. And because she's awesome, what do the Democrats do? What do the progressives do? Do they wait to the next cycle and put somebody up to run against her? Of course not. Can't have that. Recall. Yep. Everybody listen, when you don't have a constitutional care, when an election doesn't go your way, notice the progressives will scream recall. They'll use parts of liberty and freedom to promote their tyranny. It's like a leech. It's like something that is sucking blood for itself to live until the host is dead. Yeah. It's remarkable what's happening. But we have to start to wrap this up, unfortunately. Say what you need to say. I want you to just do the Sonia.
The Sonia touchdown.
What do these parents and grandmas and grandpas and teachers, what do they need to hear from you?
I think they need to get involved. I think they need to pay attention. For the very least, I keep hearing people say, oh, I'm not going to vote. It's rigged. I'm not going to do this. It's rigged. Let it happen to you. Just like when we saw, that's what happened to me. I got involved because it came into our living room, right? It kind of vomited into our living room in 2019 where we were like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I mean, the very first president that me and my husband, voted for, I'm making up for it. Trust me. I didn't have any clue about anything political. Then I realized we have a moral obligation to pay attention, and our children that's what they want. Yeah. And if we don't pay attention, we lose. Let them rig your vote. Let them take your vote. You know what's going to happen to that mom or that dad when their vote isn't counted right? You go after them for accountability. You show them. You expose the evil, right?
Yep.
You let people understand that's what's happening. But if you just sit back and do nothing, what's going to happen?
How do we get more men like her?
I mean, it's common sense.
Seriously. This is warfare. This is frontline war. Sun Tzu said in his Art of War, you ought to read the book. Every Christian should read the book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. He says, cause your opponent, your enemy, to believe that you're not at war with them.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it's a national thing. I know we're wrapping it up, but when I was first elected, I think we were only 2 or 3 months in, California school board members can go to this, they called it, it was some kind of activism over there in D.C., but it was only for California school board members. Through the California School Board Association, you get to go to this thing. You get to sign up if you wanted to and go to it. We did. You have Javier Becerra. You know who he is?
Yes.
He's telling California school board members, let me into your campuses. I have money. He wanted to put clinics into the campuses. Pay attention, please. If you don't pay attention, you're literally handing your children to a silver platter. You're handing the future on a silver platter to the enemy. Yeah. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Look, if they want our lives, they want to tear us down, they want to go after us, who's in the way? What do they really want? It's not me.
Right.
They don't care about me. They could care less about me. It's the kids.
Why would a parent...
Even if you homeschool your kids, pay attention. Your kids are
Yeah,
growing up in
boy.
these communities.
Yeah, you just caused my instant brain to go somewhere else. Homeschoolers, listen, homeschoolers, Lisa and I, we homeschooled our kids. But I have to say, homeschoolers are guilty of a lot of apathy when it comes to their neighbors' children. So, for example, homeschoolers say things like this: I don't get involved. I homeschool my kids. Guess what? Coming to a state near you, homeschool is going to be on the chopping block, and you're going to,
Yes,
and
it is.
it's going to be gone.
Yes, it is.
And why? Because you sat around and you did nothing. You said, "Oh, yeah, my poor friends, they have kids in public school, and they're going to the school board meeting, and they're making a ruckus. I don't. I homeschool." Oh man, you know what? You're just pulling the wool over your eyes. You need to fight, because listen, what is happening to that kid in in public school? What if your homeschooler winds up falling in love with that public homeschool kid someday and she inherits all of his values? I mean, to say the least. But give the people marching orders. Yes, we've already
Okay.
established.
Pay attention.
Go to a board meeting, pay attention. Vote.
Pastors, please encourage your church, your body of Christ, to get involved, because they have a moral obligation. I can't even tell you how encouraged I have been to be able to attend some of the Comeback Californias. That is a key. When churches get involved, I heard the numbers about
gosh.
the churchgoers. If that percentage, just 30% of churchgoers
30%.
just vote, not even tell them who the candidates are. You're trusting that they vote with their moral
Biblical
values.
worldview value.
Yes. If they just vote, you've already outbeat the enemy in votes.
Yep. It's
Vote.
amazing what she's referring to. Up and down the state of California, we've been traveling as this team called Comeback California. We're educating churches, pastors, and concerned citizens to not only register to vote, but to vote biblical worldview values. And we also have a segment dedicated, hosted by Karen England, on what's going on in your school and in your libraries. That said, is the fact that Sonia mentioned 30%, the data, we have an attorney with us that's traveling with us. The data is so embarrassing because technically most people don't vote. But do you know who's the worst in the entire group of people who don't vote? It's the Christian.
Yeah.
The Christian doesn't vote. And so Robert Tyler, he shows you that if this percentage of Christians voted, both California or nationally, if we voted, I can't even put it in words. There would be such a shift
Yep.
for good. It's shocking. So easy.
Yeah.
If people woke up from apathy and said, all right already. I'm going to register to vote, and I'm going to go vote biblical worldview values. I'm going to go find out about the candidates, and I'm going to go to realimpact.us. Realimpact.us. I'm going to find out, what's going on in my state. And oh my gosh, you could change so much. So
I think I have one last thing, though.
yes, do it.
When you get the people who actually care and into these elected positions, the normal day-to-day people who are not career politicians that just want the best for their communities and their state, support them. You also have to do your homework. They're not going to know everything that's going on. They can hold accountable to what's going wrong. But unless you're paying attention on the ground where your children, or on the state level even, with our I work very closely sometimes with Bill Laselli or other assembly members. We have very few, but that do the right thing, right? You have to work with them. They have to be aware of these things to fight the good fight and bring it to light and hold
right.
accountability. If you do nothing and you just get comfortable that, we got them all in, guess what's going to happen? The enemy's going to come in. They're going to do recalls. Madison got recalled because the
Yep.
normal day-to-day people didn't pay attention. You know what's really disheartening in these situations? 2 seats
Yep.
that were recalled went unopposed.
Yeah.
That should never happen in the
Remarkable.
history of California.
Pure
you have
apathy.
a mother who took on the abuse from the left and then a slap in her family's face because no one else paid attention and they just
No.
handed it over.
No people who call themselves good got involved.
And that's where I think we miss it. Pay attention. find some time, even if it's 10 minutes a week, to pay attention. Ask your kid the questions.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the bills in Sacramento. When you pay attention to what they're passing in Sacramento, watch one hearing. One hearing when they're in session. I encourage every citizen to just watch one hearing. You're going to see how twisted it is. You're going to see how ugly it is.
I testified before the state Senate on 501c3s being required by the state of California to fund elective abortions. I testified against it. Sued the state of California regarding that. It meant this, that every church in California had to pay for elective abortions. So filed a lawsuit against the state of California. It was in court for 7 years, and we just won last year, which means it was a huge victory, by the way.
Absolutely.
Which means no insurance company in the state of California can operate in the state of California unless they offer a church or 501c3 abortion exemption in their insurance policy. Having said that, you might feel like nothing good happens and there's just, what can come out of it. Hey, stand for what's right, be patient, and
fight the good fight.
Yeah, fight the good fight. God forbid if you're not in the good fight. But the hour is late. You know that. You feel it. But think about this for a moment. The day in the life of your home, your life, your child, your parenting. You bundle up little Bobby and you kiss him goodbye. He gets on the bus or you drop him off. He goes into a place that you, mom and dad, you think that they have your child's best interest in mind. Number one, biggest mistake. They don't. Second thing is, you've handed your baby over to people who mentally and emotionally are eating your kid for lunch.
Yeah.
All right? And then when they're done eating them up, what's left, they're offering them up on an altar of pagan ideas. This is nothing new to what's visited our culture and our world before throughout history. And then finally, for me, and Sonia can have the final plea to all of you, is the fact that it has gotten so bad in these 50 states that the only way things are going to turn around, but it has to happen fast, is if either A, pastors who will not get involved, get out of the way. Go get a job somewhere. But pastors who see the need that God commands them to blow the trumpet of warning when evil is arriving, to be so obedient to Christ that by your obedience you punish disobedience. That's 2 Corinthians 10, verse 6. That in Proverbs 29, verse 2, the Bible says when the righteous, the word simply means those who make the right decisions or empower, people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. That in Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1, the Bible tells us, woe unto those who write misfortune and pass evil laws. Pastor, if you think this is political, you have listened to the lie of Satan. There's nothing political about this. The enemy wants you to think that. Well, listen. From your child's protection and safety and what they're learning to the price of gasoline, to how much a gallon of milk costs, to the fact that you're able to be in your pulpit next Sunday, it's all political. Because those powers have been put in place by God to do good, Romans 13 says. But when they do not do good, that's when they have lost their mantle of authority, Romans 13. So we need to, listen, we need to get involved. And you've heard this podcast, but please get involved. Sonia, wrap it up.
Okay.
Close it out.
So God doesn't call, we all know, God doesn't call the qualified. I'm proof of that.
We
He's going to qualify
proof of this.
us through the calling.
Yes.
You wake up, you give them your yes, you pray, you surround yourself with brothers and sisters in Christ, you fight the good fight. But I will say this, God gives us all gifts. You may not be the person to run for office.
Right.
but you have gifts that could be used towards helping and protecting our children and our families. The enemy is out to destroy families. We see it all over the nation, right?
Yep.
It's so sad that we see people are becoming, desensitized to even people trying to kill people right now. It's horrifying. But the fact is, you have gifts, use it. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to run, you support those that are running. If you're not going to, once you get people in running, pay attention, do social media, tell other parents, get out social media, have a page. We all have gifts, use it, give God your yes every single day, and don't worry about the outcome. It could be defeating that when you don't win that thing or you don't do that. But the thing is, one more person being aware to fight the good fight, we're winning.
Yes.
God may not give you, a school board that is has the best interest of your children, but the fact that you're there and you're holding them accountable, it makes them afraid to do stuff out loud, right?
That's right.
And now that you're putting it out in public and you have a page or you're doing whatever, you're doing your due diligence.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
I love what you're saying. Thank you for saying it. And you guys have all seen like school board meetings or any kind of meeting where there's a crowd. Have you noticed how powerful and how frequent you see T-shirts? Yeah. T-shirts that say something. I guarantee you this. It costs nickels, right? It's nothing. For you to wear a T-shirt, to go into a school board meeting that simply says, I'm watching this meeting, or I'm hearing this meeting, or I care.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. If you just had a T-shirt that said, I care and I vote, that terrifies a public official. You can do that, can't you? So I don't know how to get involved. Don't you have email? Don't you tweet? Do you have a Facebook, something or other? You can say something. You can say something. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
For being a remarkable warrior and a Deborah to this community and to our children and parents. And so listen, please get involved. We're running out of time, folks. And I'm not talking about this podcast. You're running out of time to have the freedom and the opportunity to defend your child against the woke ideology of the progressive left that has left nothing but destruction and confusion in their wake. Everything they touch, they destroy. And if they can't, they'll shoot at it. It's unbelievable. So listen, realimpact.us, Capital Resource Institute, kitchen table activist.
Karen will help you get that sexual material out of the hands of kids.
Yeah, she'll show you how to find what's going on in your libraries.
Gina will help you teach the church how to ballot harvest.
Yeah, if your state, a lot of states do have ballot harvesting, or we call it ballot collection. Yeah. We do it here perfectly. We know we've already been vetted and we've already been attacked. We've passed the test. Yeah. You can do it in your state if it's legal in your state. But listen, as always, we're saying that it's time for us to live out what we believe in. It's time for us to live real life. This is it, and you're in it. Don't be a spectator, but do get involved. God bless you.
This Jack Hibbs podcast, as well as all the broadcast outreach opportunities, are listener supported. Will you consider partnering with us through a special gift? Go to jackhibbs.com to learn more and stay connected.